there, I'm Charlie. This is Mabel. She's gonna hang out too. And I'm not sure how much longer this video is going to be able to go because I technically have a repair person who's supposed to be showing up for my heat. So sit back, relax. We're gonna just talk about intrusive thoughts and channeling today. Why? Because I go through various cycles of release and heal, let the things go, do the things, whatever it is that you call it, higher self, spirit, my guides, whatever it is that sort of comes through. I've found that in sort of just the cyclical nature of releasing, it feels so silly to be like, it is like a roller coaster, highs and lows and things that come up, but it really just sort of is. And I kind of just want to show it as like a story capacity, because, you're going along in life, right? Like, here's life, woo, and you're just like, oh, things are bad. Nah, and this is basically just the continuation of life through time, right? It's, you're heading in the direction of time moves forward. And within this, these just general ups and downs of whatever it is you're trying to do, you have not only just the through lines of reality creation themselves. It's a bit like a music score, right? But these are just like consolidated frequency bands, basically. Where when you get into life itself, down here everything is actually really, really fast and really, really, really dense, and up here everything is more flowy, and it kind of just kind of operates in a less like crunched manner. Whenever you create an experience in your life, you kind of set yourself off into a specific trajectory that says, if I keep going after the now moment, which could be like right here, right? Let's call this just an experience. What would this experience be? I mean, you could say life, but let's just call it this video, right? I just mapped out this video. I'm starting in kind of a middle, like, hey, I'm kind of happy. I don't know how long I'm going to be talking, because there's like, I'm literally now at the hour that the person to repair stuff is supposed to be, but there's a 2-hour window. I'm the kind of person that's like an anxious doer. Like, this is when, if I start doing something that actually, that's going to sound mean, that actually matters to me. I don't mean it like that, but I mean, like, if I start cleaning up, or if I start doing something with the dogs, or if I start doing something that will get interrupted, it can throw off just my whole thing I'm trying to build here, which is experiences that are pleasant and fun and helpful, because I'm trying to overwrite old patterns of behavior, specifically overeating, not moving a whole lot, not making more time to, be a modern human with modern dogs, which these dogs, I treat them more like children than some people treat their children. I do. Because dogs have become like little anxious usses. Like, it's weird. Yeah. Anyway, the dog conversation, that's not what this is. So let's just say that this is me predicting how this conversation is going to go, with its highs and its lows, with pulling things up, right? This is my own forecast for this video that I'm currently channeling out, but I don't actually know. Anyway, we're here in the now moment, which is now, I guess, probably here, right? So we're moving forward in time. As things dip down, energetically speaking, because I'm kind of just letting them, right? I'm not doing anything right now to pump up the energy. I'm not actively pulling anything in. It's just sort of like feeling this natural slump happening, right? When that starts, all of the energy in my mind, because this is all internal, right? I'm just sitting here. I'm sitting here. It's nothing really externally happening, but time continues to move forward. The experience of this video continues to move forward. The energy continues to dip. And it's dipping because I'm just sort of in this headspace, have been since sort of yesterday, of we call them intrusive thoughts. They're just the what if scenarios, the worst case things, the constant, you know, chatter of what's wrong with you, all of the things that are not pleasant. They're definitely down in the dip here. And when I can tell that I'm pulling those out more and more, I do take time to sit with them. This right now, I'm not going to keep showing you this this map of like how this is going to go, because whatever, but I am going to channel out some of what these intrusive thoughts say, mainly to show folks who might be dabbling in their channeling abilities too, what can happen and what can come out, and like why, right? At least as far as what I've noticed, because not everything that you channel out when you're doing Akashic record readings or just channeling, like just doing the pull in information and you know, translate as best I can. That translation depends very heavily on where you are. Where are you in your resonance when you're doing it? Like, are you down here? Because if you're down here, a message of I love you comes across as something completely different. Not kidding. Like there's a very specific reason why sometimes when you're down low, you feel internally so much more alone. And it's because you're effectively deflecting everything. You're doing one of these internally to any kind message that comes through. And it's purely just about where your perspective is capable of pulling things from. When you channel, when you open yourself up, when you tune in, you are opening your own floodgates to whatever it is that's coming in. And just like how you can't control an email coming from someone else or a comment online, I mean, it's not that you're not controlling content information that's coming in, but you do need to just be aware and discerning that if something comes through that's like, what the fuck, like that's not light and love, that's not good, that's not like you. It's a very important moment to just recognize what's coming out and then get curious about it instead of fear-based about it and spinning yourself out, basically. I just say that because we've all been traumatized, and if you haven't had a lot of experience with intrusive thoughts and you kind of only start like bringing that part of yourself back out after you start channeling, because maybe you've been on like a self-help gig. Maybe the last 10 years for you have been amazing. Maybe the last few years have been, maybe the whole process has just been, wow, amazing, incredible. There is absolutely, this is when I'm also pulling in like channeled information. And so there's a little bit of like, yeah, there is some bigger forecasting here, because I guess I am doing a weather report, but I'm doing it from early in September. I'm on September 8th now. I've been filming a lot of these videos, but this is me finishing October for the Light Language channel. When I ask why, the information that I get is actually varied a lot. So when I ask why did I film, how many videos did I do? I mean, I did the 4 for the Light Language channel. I have more for Hey Kathy, patreon.com/Hey Kathy with a C. And I'm like, this month for me, September for me is really like video game. Patreons, go. But before I did that, I needed to record all of these videos. And I did this for the Light Language channel. I also just have like 4, 5, 6, like 7 or 8 other, like in my personal, like experimental archives now of an external hard drive, just because I was documenting some things and I'm not really super comfortable with putting them online, but or I just can't, because I was documenting like what happens with Spotify and music, and I just literally can't because YouTube's like, no, which is fair, but for just scientific documentation purposes, right? Because I've been treating this whole thing like I'm a scientist, because I'm scientifically trained. I have 2 master's degrees. Literally the only reason I didn't go for a PhD is because I tried it. I really did. I tried like the institutionalized thing, like as an adult. I hated it so much. No, I went and got a fake PhD instead. Loads better. And honestly, I have a bunch of other, I have a health and wellness certification. I have a national board certification in health and wellness coaching. I'm not going to get renewing it because I don't care. anymore. I've got the master's in sociology. I've got the master's in psychology. I got my bachelor's in psychology and sociology. I have a post-baccalaureate certificate in gender violence intervention. I got Zumba certified. That was an attempt to no, if I'm certified, I'll go teach, and then I'll actually do physical things. I did get a nutrition certification, and a personal training certification. I just got a lot of shit. I've studied a lot of how does mind work, how does body work, and then lived experience. Yeah, I have more internal cooperation, collaboration experience than most. That's my resume. If you want to hire me for an Akashic record reading or for your business, I do HR stuff, and I can keep the, cussing at bay. But program evaluation is my main specialty, and it's what I have 20 years doing. Before the whole death and going through an awakening and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, we're talking intrusive thoughts here because I spent 3 decades with several internal parts that definitely wanted to take their exits, but one who was actively trying to suicide, at all times. And I'm not a stranger to intrusive thoughts. And the thing about those is that they're kind of patterned. They're kind of like a tick, like an internal, I can't turn this off. It just happens, and it just does happen. And we're back. You thought I couldn't edit videos, didn't you? Because all you've seen is just turn on camera, go. But no, I can do a lot of things. I have a lot of skills from a lot of different whatevers. I don't edit because it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of stuff. And those of you that have never done a YouTube thing, try it sometime. Try doing the everything that a YouTuber does. Try it on as a job. See how it feels. Because it will change how you interact with YouTube, which is kind of fun, but then you can discover a way to turn any of your social media into TV. That's the thing that kids are kind of missing these days, to be completely honest, with just screen-based activities. We were raised on, you get what you get. You can kind of plan for it, you can kind of prepare for it, but you want to watch the fun shows? Be home at the time that the collective has decided that this is when fun things happen. Now everything is personal, and so you are in charge of being your own boss of the content you're pulling in with algorithmically complicated things and needing to constantly do stuff. And that's a really fun segue back into channeling, because when you start channeling, when you start turning on, you may notice, you may have some of these things that you're playing with. It does not remove who you have been up until you started doing it. And it sure as heck does not, it just doesn't make certain things easier. In fact, it makes them way more complicated. So that was a person who came, lovely person, to come and clean fucking houses. Oil heat, man, it's stupid. It's fucking stupid. We bought this house with the hopes of we'll fix it up. We'll replace the oil with solar. And you know what Connecticut does for that? Fucking nothing. You don't want to help people. The entire fucking stage just nah. We care about pretending that everything here is just fine, even though it is not fine. 2 hospitals in the state have a fucking monopoly on the place. Anyway, that's not what this is for. I'm just ranting. So I kept channeling. He was here. I kept doing some channel writing because I was still in channel mode and things were on, and just because just because the dogs freak out because of a doorbell. Sorry if I freaked out any of yours at home who like watching any of mine. Apologies. Sorry about that. But I just kept writing to see what would come through. And what came through was something I'm just going to share. And then I have a little other thing to do, I guess. I'm flying as I don't know what's going on as you are in watching this. So it is curated. It's just curated by a team that's not me. They're just Charlie, get on and just fucking channel. And I'm okay. Sure, sounds good. Am I or am I not basically the same person when I'm high and when I'm not? I feel like I have documented evidence that for the most part that's the case. I'm not high. I do just frequently use plant medicine to turn off certain cluttered things to focus and hone like different skills I've got. So I decided to sit down and start channel writing in some of the intrusive thoughts that come through. Because allowing yourself, especially when you're starting to do channel writing, allowing yourself the freedom to be a little bit scared by what's about to come through, it is very helpful. And also depending on not only your belief systems, but just like the things that you're engaged in, especially if you're going through an awakening and you're like taking in all this content and then you're like, I'm going to go here and I'm going to do this activation. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Shit can come out of you. Okay. Like I had a friend who went and did some sort of activation thing. It was a new friend. I went and did some sort of activation thing in Egypt. I fucking channeled out some Egyptian curse shit. Like, I was guided as to what to do. And then I was guided as to how to get the fuck out of my, to get rid of it. Right. And it's just like, you could argue it's really just like a finishing of a past life entanglement scenario. But in the moment, I was just channel writing for a couple of days in a journal, which I've done. I've done it a couple times. It's pretty fun to just channel write in journals. But if you're channel writing and something comes out that's like scary, something that comes out, then you're just like, pretty sure I set myself to love and light channels. What the fuck is this? Sometimes it's just literally an aspect of you, a part of you that's responding. And sometimes it's because you're channel writing, you now have this sort of bifurcation that's happened where you are kind of in your back seat to the consciousness of who is controlling your hand. It's still you, but it's you. There's you that's paying attention to just like whatever it is that's happening. And maybe you're paying attention to the pen and what's coming out, but there's also the you that is doing the translating. And depending on where you are, I'll go back to my little map. Depending on where you are, if you're down frequency wise, then what you're channeling out it's likely warped. It's likely not particularly great. And part of these just lived experience right now, everything is just doing this. Everything is. You're dipping down during cycles that you're attached to or not. You're dipping down, you're grabbing stuff, you're pulling it up to the surface, dipping down, grabbing stuff, pulling it. Like, this is just how we extract and remove. It's how our genes are constantly turning things off and on, right? Like our bodies are constantly in this state of, okay, turn this part off, take care of this, take care of this, take care of this, remove it. Okay, then turn it back on. Like construction that we see on roads, you're always in a state of construction at some point. And that doesn't stop just because you're channeling. So when I first wrote this out, I wrote it out. It started in like my handwriting. And I keep asking, like, should I show this? And the answer I'm getting is like, no, don't. There is something to be said about other people also seeing your stuff, because you're kind of in the process of creating like an artifact when you're channel writing stuff. And it really genuinely might just be for you. A lot of things are, especially if they come in the form of attunements, if they come in the form of prayers even. Like, if you get something through and it feels artistic and it feels like expression-y and it feels like I'm going to share it because it feels like it fills you up with that, you're going with a body-based, like, yeah, this is what I do with that. When I look at something and I'm in the middle of channeling for who I know is at least a someone else, right? You're viewing this, you're the someone else that I'm at least talking about this for. That's why I'm so nervous, because this shit it's real, it happens. It can be really scary in the moment if you're not aware of the safety of it, if you don't trust that you're allowing this to come out for a reason and you start panicking, instead of just continuing to ask your body, like, body, what do I do with this? What do I do with this? What do I do with this? I'm feeling like there's something that needs to happen. Like, I look at it, I've got it for me. I'm going to be eventually describing things to you. I'm sorry I'm taking so long. I'm trying to just build up the energy back. Not everything needs to be seen by another. Not everything needs to be witnessed by another. And your decision is the one that matters for that. Because if you're the one that's produced it, you need to check in with yourself before you do something with it. It's why I don't want to put a camera on and show what I'm writing at any given time, because I have a check and balance in place for myself because of how many different voices can come through me. Like, I'm fully aware of just how like, I literally am a channeling fun bus, okay? Like, most people, it's like a car, you know, you have like a passenger and whatever. No, fun bus, okay? Like, it's, I'm sure I'm offending any person with DID who's like, stop calling it like a fun bus. Like, I'm sorry, but you have a bunch of headquarters inside your head. Yeah, I mean, like, that's a channeling capacity system of just how a brain and body gets oriented in circuitry. I can't really change it. Like, it's not like I would if I could, because it's how I've always lived. So anyway, it's part of why this came through, actually, because integration is death, and I would really fucking appreciate if the entire psychological community would understand that. It is something that does just happen when you go through like healing cycles and you decide, but it's because we'll get into this, but as humans, we come in as multidimensional soul beings to play this game of being human. We're doing it right now during the human evolution timeline of, hey, everybody, what if we just had waves of hundreds of thousands of people awakening all at once? And oh yeah, the structure can't really handle it, so everyone's gonna freak out because we're all connected, right? So just like all the shit that you thought you were done with is just gonna come on up to the surface. But in being here for your human experience, you have a number of exit points along the way, transition points, death potentials, right? Because there needs to be a way to come back out of this. You wouldn't want to just stay here forever because it's slow. I mean, if you wanted to do that, you'd come in as a rock. Okay? Like, just saying. You came in as a human, not a different thing that would be around for much longer. So when you have a bunch of you inside and you have a bunch of those internal headquarters, they have the capacity to step off at different exit points that are just kind of woven into the tapestry of your lived experience. And some of them take those exit points, and you can do that in a conscious way, but you genuinely need to fucking understand it is a death. It's a fucking death. And everyone inside and everyone who's been connected to the collection of a being will have to not only go through that loss, but will have to go through the grieving of that loss. And they might even not even fucking understand why they're grieving. Feel like you lost your friend? Maybe you did. Maybe you fucking did. Maybe that internal part of someone that you loved is literally gone. Maybe they took their exit already. It's possible. And especially with DID, if you're on a regular conversational basis with those inside, for us, integration literally, like I call it, integration fusing, somebody just went away. It literally started after the complete feeling of that new love resonance, which was a self-love one. We hit self-love and it killed everybody internally. But it was because of the archetypal path that I'm on. I'm on what the spiritual community calls an embodied mastery path. I don't know many embodied masters who came through the DID pathway. I don't know. Damas never fucking talked about it. I mean, one thing. There was like one mention of one thing in aspectology. I feel like I was unprepared for some of the things that I've been dealing with, because even spiritual community content is for the masses. What comes, and I've asked that because some of the things that, like, I channel wrote out some things from the fairy realm. I'll show you that. And like I know that was on a different video, but I'm doing all of these at like the same time and then time releasing them because whatever. I have apparently other things I'm doing in October. And I'm trying not to let the intrusive thought of, you're doing this because it'll be postmortem. Oh, I hate that intrusive thought, but it happens, right? Comes through. But like, this is generic. Like, I'm going to be okay. It came from the fairy realm. I translated this out and was like, what is it? What does it say? And then I channel wrote this and was like, well, that's very generic. And they're like, well, yeah, you're doing a generic video. You're doing it to a collective, which to me, when I tune into this, I feel like I'm on a stage and there are a number of seats, not a ton, because I'm only looking into the end of October for this, or really not even the end of October. I'm only capable of seeing through like tomorrow. So I'm wrong a lot. I'm very right about like what kinds of things will show up on my screen. I started that as a kid. That's why though. I'm like I'm a screen-based channel. Whoa. I don't think angels were prepared for that one. in just humans. Like, oh, we whoopsied with the millennials. We made them too good at screens. Now when they channel on screens, a lot of them are classically conditioned to always just have their channel on. Uh-oh. It means that they're just talking from their heart-centered selves most of the time now. Which is both good and bad for people, because it means that you're also, if you're not already, going to be a little bit in liar mode. I call it that because it just means you're like, you're just open. Like, you get done with something that you've recorded and you're like, why did I say that? Why did that come out of me? I thought I've been working on it. It's like, no, you're just, whatever's coming out's what's coming out. That's what we're all doing. So, to my point of intrusive thoughts, I allowed this to come out. And it started with "you are worthless." And the writing started as mine. And then got more jagged. Turned into another one. And then I just sort of sat with it and went, okay. Because I actually kind of laughed at first, because I was like, "you are worthless." I was like, I mean, I hear that all the time, but it literally makes me laugh to see myself write it at this moment. So that's telling, right? Thought, not me, right? Because your thoughts can come through as downloads. Like, it can come through as, I'm just opening my internal messages because I don't currently have any thoughts about me right now, so let me pull in something else. And that something else is probably from another aspect, a piece of your past that you haven't talked to or about or talked through things in a while. For the purposes of this, this was a conversation, well, this was some of the stuff that comes through when I tune into Marva from our past. And like, so she wrote, "you're worthless," and I kind of laughed, and just like, and then just pain, just the word pain and hopeless. And I was like, okay, so who is this? And I got, "who do you think it is?" And then she wrote the word "died." And I went, I just kind of laughed because it's all internal jokes and stuff. And then just, well, okay, so I knew, but it hadn't written it, I'd heard it. And then I turned over the card, and she wrote, I'm allowed to put this, okay. She wrote "lifetime of loneliness." And then I said, "who is it?" And then Marva. I actually I already did a level of a thing to allow Marva to talk as a channeled entity through this hand, depending on what's coming out when I'm recording and channeling. It's like a whole thing. But she then, when we went to the next one, she wrote, "Hi, Marva, dead but still kicking it." But dead but still kicking. And what's funny is, as I was even writing, like, she wrote it just because joke. Marva was like 16 and sassy. Sassy? Is that an okay word to, like, just doesn't take shit. Okay. She was a protector part, right? Like held on to a lot of the really hard shit all the time. And what's funny is, even as she was writing, it was her writing, right? Her writing from beyond the grave. I know that gets complicated because people are like, but it's DID, she's not actually whatever. Fuck you, she's dead. She's on the other side. She just helps, right? I have consciously chosen to basically live my life as though I have it again, just because I'm doing it as a consciously open channel, in part to just literally help me, because I do channel in really high vibrational beings and I still have a lot of shit. Because Marva, like, I have to complete Marva's contracts, is the thing. I had to complete the contracts, the Akashic contracts that she created, that Patricia created, that Scout created, that Leonard created, that Tony created. And I've asked, and they're like, no, we've managed to remove the other ones. But in coming back in, I did agree to some things. But I promptly forgot, because when you like come back in, you forget a lot. Plus, you try staying awake and doing channel mode where you're like literally going through the channels for 5 straight fucking days, and then see what you remember. See what you remember, okay? I don't remember everything. It comes through in bits and pieces when I channel, and when people ask me questions about whatever the fuck has come out of me. But anyway, when she was writing, I was like, I even told her, I was like, I don't really see the R, and so she went back in and put an R, like more effectively. So this is Marva's handwriting. And then she just, deal or buy. And I don't disagree with that. Like, yeah. and this is especially just true for, what am I doing? I'm talking online in a way that I know people are going to completely roast me for. It's why I've turned off notifications for comments, and I'm just like, that's what being a YouTuber is. You just have to like fucking like, I've already dealt with enough of those people. So how about, sorry if you write a comment and I don't respond, I'm never going to. It's intentional. I've turned it off. I have no, like, comment if you want to. You clearly need to get something out of your system. But like, understand that when you do that shit, you quantumly entangle with the person that you're doing it with in a way that you have to resolve. You have to resolve it. So if you're shitty to someone, you're gonna have to resolve that shit. And I know that's like, that's karma. It's like, yeah, it's also just like, we do still live in a binary state. Are humans actively in the process of like shaking our literal bodies out of that? Yeah. Like, yeah. And I know I say shaking, but it's like, it is a resonance recalibration that does involve the the internal like that happens when your body is capable of taking and extracting and reigniting and doing whatever it needs to do with your DNA with help from fucking the everywhere. Maybe be careful. Like, just not for me. I'm not gonna do shit, but like for your own sake. If you're literally spending your time taking actions that actively cause harm, friends, my God, just take a bit. When you write out a thing, fucking stop for a second. Switch into literally any other character you can come to mind right now, like any other character, like whatever character. If you can like switch into Muppet, be a Muppet for a second, and then read back to yourself in a tone, whatever tone you want, and see if that's really how you want to represent yourself to a stranger. Like really, because our online connections, the time is up for that. Like, this is completely, not only this is completely anonymous, but just like, and not in like a people will find you way, even though, but just in a literal Akashic way. The actions that you take are what propel you in the direction that you are continuing to go. And if you are taking actions based on, I got triggered by this fear and now I need to tear you down, the direction you're heading in, continuing to head in your literal reality creation and what's available to you in like where in the resonance you are capable of going, you anchor yourself and then you get stuck down here. And then some of these fucking things turn online for you because, I'm sorry, but you interacted with someone going through an awakening. Hi, you don't get that information unless you're, especially from someone like me who has no fucking internet presence right now. What, like, know the beings that you're getting into like your entertainment from. And if it's triggering you, question it. Why is it triggering you so much that the action that you are taking is to tear someone down and shut them up? Why? So, so this is me explaining Marva in part because of just sort of the quantum entanglements that she's got going on. I don't, on camera, there are certain, those of us who have already shared a life in this body have anchor pointed in the body quantum entanglements that still have open contracts. That means my voice is, well, it's like every sensory part of yourself is part of their life too, right? So if the contracts are open, basically I can't speak on behalf of, literally, when I'm channeling the entities who were formerly co-inhabitants of this body, but I will sometimes be channeling them out and through. And this video is apparently Marva's like personal debut, scheduled for end of October. This is what she wants. Okay. So, okay. Tell them never show with voice is what I got. Don't show. Okay, I won't show. The contract with me forbids it. Okay. And then me is spelled with 3 E's. Yes, because there are, okay. I'm learning. I'm learning how to, like, a channel wrote all of this out and then, you know, person left and now I'm recording another freaking long thing. Okay. Can't harmonize in resonance when voice is in use. Can't/won't record without vocal capacity. Off camera for Marva, but always happy to write and talk on your internals. External comms for educational and entertainment purposes only. Channel/consciousness explore on your own. No lawyers. Basically, don't sue me for what comes out of my mouth. Yeah, don't do that, please. I am a channeler, a multidimensional channeler. Anyway, if you want more Marva forward content, keep showing up here, because just because a contract has been negotiated today doesn't mean Charlie is forever bound to it. I love how I remember writing this, and then already, because it's like a cue card, I don't remember. Like, I wrote it down, and then promptly my brain was like, and straight into the trash. Like a good bureaucrat, right? It's for, okay, Charlie, look at camera. Yes, yeah. Would you like to say the following words out loud as a bit of an affirmation of human choice? Now that I've explained all of the other stuff. Yes, I would. I, Charlie River Morrow, who penned these tiny cue cards to read after a life edit split my intrusive thoughts and channeling video into 2 parts, because I don't really edit my videos, but I edit myself, and I edited my life, apparently. Proving I can edit, I just don't right now. That's why you get this in 2 things, because I just opened up DaVinci Resolve, was like, blah, blah. Allow Marva, Patricia, Scout, Leonard, and a Tony, we had more than one apparently, to have full access to my channeling in hands, arms, and voice, so long as proper announcements are made. I'm going to pause. And I just got asked, do you still agree with this? And my answer is yes. This is being shown on camera as evidence of the kinds of Akashic level conscious human choice contracts many channelers get into without going through the level of paperwork Charlie has required in order for beings who once shared a body with her to be visible during an open channel state. Just because Charlie can embody a channeled in entity does not mean she will. Possession is easier to achieve than you think. Protection is essential when knowingly providing open channel access to translating information. Those who've walked many roads prior to their capacities becoming weaved into the fabric of their daily lives would do well to ensure you have a level of proxy system, such as combining channeling and writing, just to ensure your hands are always available to either ground you into the here and now, angels are terrible with time, or pull you out of whatever trauma loop you've entangled with once more before those undealt with parts of yourself take over your channeled state and spin you into fear. Charlie will now demonstrate her house fire visions. Yeah. Charlie will now demonstrate her house fire visions, and then they were like, you got this. With the 5 the 5 folks I named, who are the song that plays in my head is like, guess who's back? Back again. They're all back. Because they're my family. And yeah. I last talked to all of them April of 2024. During the near-death and preparation and coming in. I was still talking to them when I was taken to the hospital. And that trauma plus the large doses of completely unnecessary medication they put into me. I had a therapist who was trying to argue on my behalf, bringing up trauma things right now, but for real, she wasn't even my therapist anymore because I'd moved states, but she called multiple times, talked to multiple people, kept trying to ask questions and be like, but seriously, why is she fucking there? Why is she there? You're telling me she has the flu now? Why didn't you just check her for that? You're telling me that you give her this? Why are you giving her that many? We don't know. The doctor that put her in just said do this, so we just did it. She couldn't get a straight answer. She couldn't get a real answer. She tried to talk to people and explain. She went through a really stressful week on behalf of a client she didn't even have anymore. And they just kept ignoring her too. Anyway, I'm not gonna talk about those and that because I feel like I talk about that constantly because it's obviously still a thing, still a problem for me. And yeah, right now, we live in a time when you're going to be considered crazy by people that you care about, by people that you trusted, by institutions that you thought you could trust. Especially if you look like me. Apparently this just means mania, bipolar. Like that's like the thing to just give every woman right now. It's just like bipolar disorder and throw a bunch of medications into them that will force them to dissociate from their bodies and turn off all their internal channels. That's what it does. That's what it did to me. It was really fucked up. So I have 2 things that I've been told to do. Number 1, talk about visions and the first house fire. Number 2, allow writing to come on tiny cue cards and show the folks at home. Because what am I if not an entertainer, right? I came back into this world to be a YouTuber. What? Who knows? My higher self, who knows? Yes, I did just burp on camera. A little bit. It's because I don't want to talk about this. One of the visions that I had, Mabel, hey, look at me. There's some barky dogs outside. One of the visions that I had during the near-death experience was, well, actually it wasn't during, it was like when I died. So when you're translating things, it can easily just be metaphor and can easily just be, hey, Mabel, come here. You come here? Instead of barking and everything? What you translate is always a matter of interpretation because you're translating information. Depending on the state that you're in, I was 4 days into not having slept, had been in channel state the whole time, had not had enough water at all, hadn't been eating anything. I was just full gone, right? Like I was on the other side. I was doing a bunch of things. Other people were doing other things with the conversations that they were having that I was just kind of witnessing. But I was being used as a multi-conversational tool because when you do have a collective going through a transition, there's contract renegotiations that are also happening if the body is at least continuing and someone's going to run it, which is what was happening. So toward the end of it, I got to being on the floor. I'd been feeling just awful. This was when the fever was the worst, the flu, everything was bad, right? So imagining fire or just feeling and experiencing a vision of fire, that's not unheard of. And I was just sitting there and I felt an explosion under window in the back and this fireball just and time stopped. I fully knew I was dying. I fully knew death was about to happen. I fully knew and accepted that it was by fire, that's a terrifying thing to think back on. In the moment, I was in pure bliss. It was completely fine. But, you think back on these things and you're like, oh my God. When I think about this on my current rational self, felt it though. Felt the heat on my back and on my feet because I was sitting and my feet were kind of down. And that, it was just literally a pause. I just went, pause. I didn't consciously do it. I just felt time pause, with the heat and with the flames. And that had been after doing a number of things, possibly before. I don't remember anymore the specifics of when happened. Because at one point there was Gaia. She popped in, was just like, hey, sweetie. but in a when she talks, she doesn't talk like that. She's very she's much more sacred and grounded, and I always feel not the person to represent her voice because I just don't feel when Gaia talks to me, it really does it works better as an animated thing. So it's just I see an internal seeing is just a very dark skin. She's a tree, basically. I mean, kind of that's more or less what I see, kind of, but it's not animated. It's not whatever. It's more or less the voice, a very calm presence, a very adult presence compared to my whole way of being. But she does sometimes talk through me. It will probably come out in this. Anyway, the fire. See, I'm avoiding it because I don't want to talk about it. But ever since And especially lately, I've been having more and more visions that have to do with fire, more and more visions that have to do with volcanoes, more and more just big, like, why is this what's coming through? Why is this what's wanting to come out? And while I was in Niagara Falls, after the night that I had done the Cave of the Winds tour, where you go and you can actually like get pummeled by Bridal Veil Falls, it's so cool. It's so cool. And I did it without shoes because I was just like, nah, I want to feel, and like parts of it are kind of submerged, parts of the like when we went, just where you're walking, there's just walking through a waterfall, walking through the water. And then that night I had a full-bodied somatic experience of being in a room, like being in bed, and that room being engulfed in flames. And I just let it play out. I let it play out because I was just like, this is not the first time I've experienced some sort of death. I've been cycling through that. Different times, different eclipse, whatever's different, like, I'm sure if I had been I stopped documenting some of that stuff in like journal form and in whatever, because it got to be so much that I was like, okay, well, my life can literally be me documenting this and therefore focusing only on this forever. Or I can spend more of my time trying to make the personal things and the business things and the just other, like, get your shit straight, get your life back in order, get your body back in order, like all of that, right? And that all takes a considerable amount of energy when you are tapped in, you are tuned in, and you are making every active choice to not get quantumly entangled with it as you can, because you're already in the collective and you already feel everything anyway. So yeah, but when I asked after the fact, because I channeled out my fear, I wrote it out, I let it have its voice, I let it have its say, and what came out was just this, it's almost like not really a declaration, but just sort of a like, yes, this is what happened. This is your house has burned down. You are, and I was away from home, and I let it just sort of exist with me for a minute. I was like, okay, my house has burned down. Phew, we're not there. Like I immediately went into the, okay, but how does that affect me right now? Right? Like, you're coming in here, you're saying that my house has burned down. You're either playing out some sort of scenario that I either did step into, and some sort of like, do different timelines as a thing that you can experience exist. I sure as hell have some very interesting experiences that felt very much like, okay, ended that timeline, cool. No anchor point there, because I do know about Akashic anchor points as far as like, I set this thing to my future, this date. And like the contracts that we have with others between then, we're all, because, you know, timelines aren't like, you're on this timeline, you're on your timeline, your heart coherence timeline. What resonance is your heart beating to, and what resonance is the space in between those beats pulling from, basically. That's why directionality matters as far as how you're spending your time, and specifically how you're taking actions, how you're doing, it's the doing. It's the like, a thought is an action, but like pen to paper is more of an action. And then entangling with another human, ooh, big action, right? Putting something on the internet, big action. That's why it feels so weird and hard when you do it and you put out something, especially if while you were doing it, you feel pretty good about it. And you're like, okay, all right. I'm like my first videos here on the Light Language channel, I was just playing around. I was just like, all right, I've made videos before. I'm not really feeling up for editing, basically. And you can tell they're not edited very well. Just because you have the skills doesn't mean you have the time and resources and capacity to just make it good. Like, I really don't. I'm in the process of doing too many different things because I don't currently have a more strategic direction beyond these big picture, like, whatevers. And now I'm finally getting something that wants to come out. And it just says house fire. Okay. So I wrote down house fire. Is this my typical, it's roughly my typical handwriting. This is my discernment practice of who is providing the writing. Am I helping to translate? I'm not even looking at the paper right now. I've got a few things that are, my hand's doing one of these to kind of gear up. Because whoever it is that's going to be providing this next channeled, I call it coming from the intrusive thoughts bucket, but I'm calibrating right now. Like, don't I look like a little, like a robot, like ding, boing, brr, boing, like you see the loading screen, right? I think it's just more prominent and pronounced right now because I'm channeling through YouTube, through this, which is, it's more powerful than I think most channelers realize. There's a reason why so many people are called to it. Okay. So I knew it was going to come out because I heard it, but what got written was just channeling is not for everyone, same as chef. And when I asked that, I was just like, you mean like Ratatouille? And like, yes, like Ratatouille. Most of the time, guidance for me from my own Akashic records, from my own team, comes in pop culture references because it's just easier. It's an easier system for me to keep my own heart's coherence resonance pretty high because I've attached love. Like I have love imprinted on screen-based entertainment. How could I not? I was raised by screens. I was one of those kids, like, you know. And if you are a person who's been raised by screens, then and if you're just a fan of things, your guides might use that fandom to help you. And sometimes things just get a little bit weird. So, okay, you wrote House Fire. Am I writing something more with House Fire? Does anybody else want to come through with that? So they wrote, we want to know you feel safe. I want to know why I would need to say it out loud. And they wrote, we can always hear you. Okay. Can't always see what you see. As what? Okay. So it wrote somatically imposed, and then before imposed, there was even like a, let's renegotiate what word situation, right? Okay. Okay. This is basically my own personal collective of my former internal family. They are my main guides because they are the only ones I trust. Basically. They've gotten me through some really hard things that they wrote the word possession earlier, and I'm like, I got taken over, right? Like it was a full takeover. And it's like, yeah, you contractually agreed to it. Like the same way that, you know, someone gives their Instagram account over to a celebrity, right? Like it's sort of like that. That's what happened. 3 different times. Well, no, the first time was for me and for us. The second time was a little bit of a takeover. And the third time was, well, it didn't need to happen, but like apparently I'd left, I'd had surgery at that hospital that I ended up going to right before we left here, which was after COVID. And I don't really know what COVID did to that hospital, but I saw the gates of hell, basically, there. Like, it was weird. It was a very weird experience. I think I went back to make sure that I had all of my personal, like, you know, everybody intact in here. Like there was an imprint that had been put into the hospital because you experience something, and especially if it is something traumatizing, like body trauma, like, I'm sorry, but surgery is body trauma. It just is. I had to go through a whole trauma response and release thing for the skin removal surgery I had in 2019. Because I had like several pounds of skin actually removed from my arms, and they're still really big, which is really funny. But I gained some weight back, and if for whatever reason they just go to arms, one of those. But like I lost a bunch of weight, had a lot of skin removed, And I went through a whole experience like a few months ago of somatic releasing and and it was just I kind of had to relive those hours of surgery just a little bit. It wasn't tremendous, and I did it while in like channel state and while, open and allowing, but I had a really it was one of those really big heart-to-heart conversations with the body, where the body was like, so we understand why you did that. Totally get it, totally understand. If you could just not again, there's been there's been a lot of conversation about the fact oh, she loses some weight again, she's gonna cut off more skin, and we don't want that. It's bad. It's really not a help. For this body, it just doesn't it doesn't go great. It's very painful. Yeah, that conversation with my body was oh, don't worry. This didn't heal. It still hurts. It's 2019. If I touch it on the wrong day or the wrong whatever, the incision still hurts on both arms. It was a bad mistake for me. But yeah, so I have somatically imposed guardrails for, they call it, for this trick. I am very cautious and very intentional with how information comes out of me and what information I'm even looking to answer. I answer anyone's questions that they've got because it's coming directly from their Akashic records. When it comes to mind, my own past, my own stuff that I'm trying to pull up, it gets really tricky and it gets really hard, and shit can come out that can just spin you out, because I've been avoiding telling you about my first house. You ready to help me with that, y'all? Okay. First house. Bought it in 2010, I think. Yeah. It was a traditional looking house, and I'm apparently drawing it for you right now. I'm not going to draw it, right? It's not going to happen, but that's okay. It was big. It had a big basement. And it was just, this is not what the house looks like. This is one of our apartment buildings, but you know what? That's fine. It's one of the apartments we lived in. That's fine. Because it's also nothing about this is accurate, but don't worry about it. But had this house, we really loved it. It was the kind of house that we bought to start our lives as the married couple with gonna have the kids now. And we knew the house had a fire in the 70s, because you could still see soot in the attic. This is not what the house looks like, but it's what I've been drawing. And we knew that, but we had someone do an engineering thing to double check that everything looked sound, and there was a claim that there was no one had died. Nothing. It was just a little fire. Oh, not that bad. Okay. A few years later, within a week, I had 3 different people, just in things that I was doing, tell me that not only was my house the site of this horrific fire that killed 3 children, but that it was the reason they put the rescue squad at the end of the neighborhood, at the end of the street. It was this house fire was a thing that tore through a 70s neighborhood, and was the reason they put a fire station in that area, because there wasn't one. And this all happened right before Christmas, and fucking I mean, you imagine what happens if, your entire house, entire business, and 3 of your 4 children are murdered in a house. I call it murdered because the fire murdered them, but yeah, I finally found the news story for it after getting those confirmations. I couldn't find it. I had to go to microfilm, and yeah, their business was in the basement. They had 3 kids. It was a couple days before Christmas, so they were at a friend's house, teenage daughter babysitting. Fire breaks out, and it's the 70s. A lot of things are, not really regulated like they are now. House went up. And I just got the question inside, Charlie, why did you draw that? And all I want to know is who's asking. And I get the answer of Gaia, which I already do know. And so there's this question of, am I just using what I hear here? It's internal hearing. Am I using what my sense of auditory clair, right, to then speak my hand, or this? It's just sort of my fact finding. Like, this is my process for that. I don't know. I kind of let the ADHD brain take over a little bit, because there's not necessarily a reason to keep going down paths, right? Like, Gaia, is there anything specific that you want to tell me about this house? Okay. And Gaia is wonderful. She speaks in my language, which is just internet language, right? Kind of. She wrote, "It has been haunting you." So now I'm going to dive a little bit deeper. Haunting me how? Okay. So what she/I wrote, because that was sort of a co-writing thing, the slower you go with some of this, and the more you like peel back the layers, the more discernment you have as far as who is writing and then who is like co-writing with me on this. She wrote, "Contract with firstborn son dibs." And so, okay. The answer that I get roughly is I really was kind of communing with son or baby? Son. I always felt like there was a little boy in our closet, kind of, in that house. I never really acknowledged it or talked about it or to it or just anything. There was just sort of this, every now and then would have this feeling of that watching feeling, right? Like someone's, like I can tell, like central nervous system, I can tell when there's another central nervous system around, right? And you're just like, is it a bug? Is it like a mouse? Is it what is it, right? I mean, any kind of big event, especially one that has the emotional enormity that one did, it creates a portal. It creates a veil thinning, right? A node, an akashic opening, a place where just big imprints stay in the structure, stay where you are. Like there's a whole reason why fire is a thing that so many have used historically and spiritually and culturally for endings, for releasing, for like just everything, right? I just started down a thread of like, do I want to detail the history of the house right now? And the answer is just like, no, it's not going to serve you. So like, okay. And I let it go. I don't care. Was there something in that house that needed burning the first time? I get answers because when you ask questions, you get answers. And I sort of allow it through as like if it's in my highest good, cool. If it's not, make it entertaining to put out. Because that's what has helped me to stay the most balanced when what's coming up. So the bigness of what's coming up is that I did not realize I was communing with the pre-death state of one of the children. An imprint in the house can hold on to it. Basically, the time and place before the fire, where it's almost like the channeled state of that being kind of can just, it feels weird to say like can be psychically imprinted into the house, but it's just our capacity for coexisting with one another across time and space is just not as distant as we think it is. It really is that in-between heartbeats thing, right? It's the in-between space that kind of opens up, and you're now kind of in a different level of dimensionality for like a half second that you don't pay attention to. Again, it's just talk about the nose a lot. It's like you don't pay attention to the fact that your nose is literally in your visual field the whole time. You also don't pay attention to the fact that when you jump through heartbeats, which are kind of just the perpetual motion machine of time, right? Like, move the time forward, move the time forward, move the time forward. It's everything between the forward, right? Move the time, move it in the time, move it around the time. Like you can do a lot of things with that in between space. And when we're in that in between space, there is also just a little bit of liminal that bleeds through, that just exists, that just coexists. We coexist with a bunch of things we don't recognize that we coexist with. There was a little boy there. He seemed to like me. This was the conversations. I went through a lot of infertility in that house. Begged, like, whatever I could beg in the universe for kids. Did some pre-birth communication stuff. Kind of tried to. It never really felt particularly successful for me. That's because, like, didn't realize we had DID, and so sometimes would just be, like, whatever was coming through, getting written out. And sort of, like, just like helpful, like, yeah, we know this isn't going to work because you're definitely not going to have a kid, but we're going to help you feel okay right now. We're going to give you some hopeful messages, because you need hopeful messages because you are not feeling okay. Like this, these feelings are amplifying the suicidality. So we need to reverse course. We need to make sure you're okay. So I got lied to, basically, in pre-birth communication stuff. I don't know that it was really a lie. It was just a potentials field thing. But during one of these, I created a contract with that entity who was, like, you know, aware of mortality, aware of death being. And it was sort of like us talking through time a little bit in his pre-birth communication, whatever, where it was like, okay, so you stay anchored to here and now, don't leave yet. Little boy in my closet, apparently. And when I'm ready to have a kid, you will be our son, like your next lifetime. You could be our, you know, come be our son, because you want another go at co-living with the people that you've kind of technically lived with because you lived in the house with them. It feels literally crazy when I say it out loud, but like that's what I read. That's what comes out. And it's always in this way that makes sense to me, and then kind of makes sense to some people who like also have context for this. Anyway, I'm not having a kid. I personally have made a number of contractually, like, Akashic contract that gets brought up. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? Because every time I have a period now, every single time, this is part of my other process that, is it going to get shut off? Not for a while. I have a few more contracts. I apparently in desperation of having kids was like accidentally making like Akashic level contracts with anybody that I was able to entangle with based on the buildings that I was living in during said, no, but I want a kid. Basically whatever lingering dimensional plane things were happening to create new contracts. Like, I guess humans have been just doing that, accidentally making contracts for things and bringing in, kind of making the decisions on the human plane, even though that's not really where decisions are made as far as who comes out, but we can alter that. Human choice can alter that. So something about his timeline being held in, not stasis, but just like misalignment with mine. Like, he stayed on his timeline in his time before the fire, before the death. I stayed in mine, which is obviously here and now. And the act of going to Niagara Falls, doing all of the things that I did, but also just washing in the falls themselves, in addition to everything I was doing leading up to it, which has been a lot of channeling, a lot of light language stuff, a lot of talking to entities from other times, but in the locations, like other times, but earthbound. There have been a lot of, especially because of where I am in where I am in Connecticut, where I've been going in other just places lately, there's been a lot of early peoples on the North American side, so indigenous peoples coming through. Like, you talk to Gaia, you're going to be talking to people who are more in tune with Gaia too. And as they've been coming through, it's almost been like I can see the different it's like being able to get, like, at this place in time in history, but like on a channeled sense, because you just take in the Akashic download of like the area, like what node in this area when you arrive and are ready to take in. It's like an audio tour, but Akashically and divinely guided, I guess I could say, right? Because this stuff just does exist in our physical, like, you can go to places and just pick up the care package that kind of exists for anybody who wants it. But you'll be drawn to it. You'll be drawn to come do this thing, come experience this, come and be here for this time, for this event, for this whatever, right? We talk about divine timing all the time when we've circumnavigated something disastrous, but we don't really talk about it when we've had, you know, a really mundane trip otherwise, but then this one just like really powerful experience, which for me was walking under the falls after a continued conscious choice where an egg comes out. I get the internal, like, you still want to try to have a baby? I'm like, nope, you can let it go. Like, it's fine. Like, but I get asked my own, like, from my body, I get asked, like, just making sure you don't want to add some sperm in here. I'm like, no, thank you. I'm good. I don't want that. I did not realize that some of my eggs were called for. Whoops. But I went to Niagara Falls and fucking washed something clean during a cycle, like during a period, like a cycle coming out, right? And that was me dissolving and ending the contract with this boy, with this entity. But because of what it involved with just being tapped into specific timelines, it wasn't that I felt his death, but I was connected to the house. You can, like, tether yourself to a house before you ever leave. And that kind of a house is a portal house, so it's easy to get just like stuck and looping on whatever things you were dealing with then. And then they come out and you're like, but I'm in a new place and I'm doing new things. Why am I? It's because you're pulling things back out that you thought you dealt with, that you thought were history, that you thought were literally just a part of your past. And for me, I somatically experienced a bedroom burning. Because I know how to read from the perspective of, and you can absolutely read from the perspective of a building. So what this very, very long video now, what am I telling? What am I trying to show and document? Because I feel like I've gone off the rails a little bit. Where are we on the, we're over here. Okay. All right. Was this was all my channel writing, by the way. Yeah. And now I'm kind of back into, I'm a little bit lower, I guess. Yeah, because I don't know what to end this with. Like, I feel like I just, bleh. Like, I keep calling all of these junk drawer videos, and they are. It's a junk drawer of channeling explained as best I can, because I do have some rather curious ways of showing you how I do it. And I really hope that anybody who does watch these just understands that it's not as much of a party trick as I'm kind of making it out to be and trying to turn it sort of into, because I do think this is really fun. I think this is a really fun capacity for people, if for no other reason than the quickest way to help yourself out of an intrusive thought timeline spiral situation, and really just for your own mental health, your own like capacity to question, stay curious, is to not just do one anything when you're channeling. when you're practicing, when you're in this discerning mode, and especially when things are just like, get your body involved. Like, you don't necessarily need to write. Art is great. Physical movement is amazing. But if you are a channeler and you're not doing somatic stuff, and I consider this to be somatic stuff. I consider automatic writing to be somatic, because your body is what's in charge. Mind is kind of in charge, but like, you got some help, right? You're a channeler. You got some help. But do it with the discernment of someone who really is practicing and studying not only an ancient technique, but a forgotten one. Not by everybody, but by enough people that we have become very rigid in how we think. And you don't want to be rigid in your thinking and doing channeling. You need the flexibility. You need the capacity to jump around. You need the ability to start down one road and have the discernment to know, okay, instead of just barreling through on this question, or instead of fucking questioning everything that comes through, which is also a problem, you can spin yourself out mentally on that one, because you start a bunch of threads. You start a bunch of loops. And if you start doing a bunch of channeling and you end up doing it around the same like time that you've had some sort of big trauma, you're on a loop. You'll start looping on some of that because you have to deal with some of that. And so if you're channeling and there's trauma involved and there's things that are happening, just know that you got to deal with it. And you can. You really can. I don't know. Channel wisely. Studiously. Be an architect of your reality creation in a way that you've never been before. And take responsibility for things. Like, you did something, you experienced something. You have a big, like, what the fuck that hasn't been pleasant when everything else has been pleasant. Why? Just why? Not, but just, yeah, be a kid again. All right. Is there any last messages for those who really just love long-winded things? Okay. So I just wrote sorry for scaring people with my fun. Yeah. No, it's just triggered some friends into basically breaking up with me because Scout was not. I mean, it was a channeled through state of kid mode. Don't channel around your friends if they're not ready for you to channel around them. It was unintentional on my part, but you know, what's unintentional these days, right? What do you do on behalf of yourself, I guess? And who are you channeling? When are they coming from? Kind of affects whether or not you want to listen to them. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I'm gonna stop now. Bye, and thanks for watching.